In today's video, we're talking about how you can get clients for your corporate headshot photography business. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is the big one. We're going to be talking about how you can get clients for your business. And I've made a lot of notes here, and I'll be referencing these a lot so that I make sure that I don't miss anything that I want to talk about. And look, hopefully this will all make sense. I've tried to group all the topics into some sort of order. But it may come across as a little bit disjointed, but hopefully at the end of the video, it should all make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, make sure that you leave me a comment or a question in the comment section below, because then everybody else also benefits from seeing the questions and the answers. And if there's something that you do that I don't do in my business and you think it's worth sharing with the rest of the viewers and myself, then please make sure that you leave them in there. We're all here to learn, including myself. So I'd really appreciate any contributions that you guys can make to the discussion that we're having. That will benefit everyone. So before we get started, I want to talk about a couple of principles, 3 principles, in fact, that I think are really important when you think about marketing. And these are things that I've sort of worked out along the way. They're common sense stuff, really. But for whatever reason, when I first got started, I wasn't doing this. And so I want to point these out initially so that you're on the right track. And these are my principles, by the way. I'm not a marketing expert, but hopefully they'll be useful to you. The first one is that the purpose of marketing is not to sell. The purpose of marketing is really to warm up potential clients so that you can get them to a stage where they're ready to book you without being pushed, okay? So we're not trying to sell them anything directly. We're just trying to build our reputation, our credibility, and try to increase their level of comfort when they are reading about us and when they're thinking about booking us, so that then they go and do that without being pushed. The second thing is that you need to be consistent with your marketing. Unless you do so, you're not going to get a lot of traction. It doesn't work well when you do, say, 2 days worth of work 1 week, and then you do 5 days worth of work the week after, and then you do nothing for the next 2 weeks. I'd rather that you pick out 2 days, same days every week, and just be consistent with your effort. And the third principle is this: the marketing effort that you put in today, you are going to benefit from that 3 to 4 months from now. Typically, when you do marketing, you don't get an immediate return, which is really important. If we go back to the second principle that I was talking about with consistency, you always want to make sure that you're consistently putting effort in, because that's got a knock-on effect, and you don't want to have a break in the number of clients coming in later on in the year because you missed out 2 or 3 weeks worth of work 3 months ago. So always make sure that you're consistent and understand that whatever effort you're putting in today, don't expect to see a return for at least 3 to 4 months. Okay, so let's get stuck into the guts of this thing. So I'm going to be talking about 2 different, I guess, categories, if you want to call it, of marketing. The first one's going to be online, and then the second one's going to be offline. And there are some things that are sort of in the middle that have components of both of those, okay? So let's start off with the online stuff first, because that's probably the easiest one. Okay, so let's talk about social media. I basically just use 3, which are Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And the type of content that I put on there has nothing to do with selling. Typically, it's things like behind the scenes types of posts. And so when I'm photographing someone, I always make sure that I've got either my phone or something, and I take a picture of like a wide shot typically, which you can see the client, and you can also see the lights and things like that. The other thing that I post are stories. So people get really interested in hearing the stories of clients. So it's always nice to be able to, and I always get permissions from my clients to do this first, but I always like to put a little, 2 or 3 paragraphs of someone that came in and they may be looking to change their careers. And, I sort of incorporate in there how a headshot photograph or the perfect photograph can go and just change their whole career. So things like that are personal are always really good content to put on social media. And just while we're talking about social media, always make sure that your profiles have all the information that they need if they wanted to get in touch with you. And also regarding the content that you put in there, you need to be consistent with that as well. You can't have, if you've got a Facebook page, for example, you should not have pictures of your family or your dog, and then you've got a picture of a client. It needs to be consistent. So always make sure that you've got, if you're going to be doing headshots like myself, always make sure that you've got headshot photography related content. The other thing that I do online is also put together a newsletter. This goes out once a month, and every client that comes to me goes into this database, and then once a month I send them out a newsletter with, again, same type of content that I put on my social media platforms. But because it's a newsletter, I can go maybe a little bit more in depth and maybe show a couple of different photographs. And if you are going to use or you're going to put together a newsletter, make sure that you use a service like MailChimp or something like that, so that you don't, you're not breaking any laws, any spam laws. So you can get a free account with something like MailChimp that will allow you to have several thousand email addresses in there, so that doesn't cost anything, and it's a way to keep you safe from not breaking any laws. Okay, so next we have blog articles, and we briefly talked about this in the video about how to build a website that is optimized for headshot photography. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it up here somewhere. But blog articles are absolutely brilliant, I think, because the difference between a social media and a blog article is that a social media article gets presented to someone that may not have any interest in headshot photography. However, a blog article is usually presented to someone that's been searching. So they searched on Google and your article came up, or they're browsing through your website because they're genuinely interested in what you provide. So that's why those are really good, and it helps to further warm up that potential client to try and get them to a stage where they might want to book you. And let's not forget that you can also provide some really good, valuable information, and that just helps to build rapport with the people that are reading your article. And again, everything sort of contributes. It's a contributing factor to having somebody build up enough confidence to feel that you're the right person to take that photograph. Okay, so this next bit is really important. With all of the online marketing that you do, everything should be directed at one particular page, which is the landing page on your website. So any links that you have in the content that you put out on your social media or newsletter or anything like that, it should all be pointing to one landing page. And we talked about this landing page in the video on how to create your website, which I just linked, but I'll link to it again in here. So if you haven't seen that, make sure that you check it out, because that is really, really important, because that page, I show you how to create a page that is optimized for converting visitors into paying clients. So you don't want to miss that. So remember, everything that you link to on your back to your website needs to go to that one page, that landing page. Okay, so let's talk about Google Ads and Facebook ads for a second. So I've used both. Now, Facebook, I could not get it to work successfully. And I understand the reason why now, because we have a product that you cannot be enticed into purchasing. And when people are on Facebook, they might see an ad, but they're not thinking about headshot photography. And so it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to convert them. So I would recommend staying away from Facebook ads. Google AdWords work a little bit differently. And by the way, I'm not affiliated with either service, but I've had some success with Google AdWords. And it sort of makes sense. The ad only comes up when someone Googles your service. So if someone Googles, corporate headshot photography in Sydney, then my ad will come up. And so it's a lot more relevant to the person that's Googling it than someone that's just got a random ad when they're inside of Facebook. And so it does make sense that it works better, because the person is seeing an ad only because they Googled it. And look, just for transparency, I don't use Google AdWords anymore. I now rely more on SEO. So instead, I sometimes spend that money on a writer to write me a blog article that will further help my SEO. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the offline activities that you need to do as part of your marketing when you're dealing with directly with people. And this is the thing that most people struggle with, because they don't want to come across as salesy. And they think that people are not going to like them. What are they going to think? All that sort of stuff. Look, you're just going to have to get over this, and you're just going to have to do it. No one thinks poorly of you when you engage with them and explain to them about your business. Nobody thinks that. So just get over it and do it anyway. And it'll give you an advantage over the other people that are just not prepared to do this. So in order to do this, you're going to have to go where people are at. And so let me share with you some of the places that I engage with others. The first one is the Chamber of Commerce. So most areas have a Chamber of Commerce, so make sure that you join that. And I did get an interesting comment from one of my subscribers. So thank you very much for your feedback. And he said that he joined his local Chamber of Commerce, but they already had a photographer that had been there for years, and sort of all the work was going to that one person. So just understand that you're not trying to get work from the Chamber of Commerce itself. You're trying to engage with the people that attend these functions and try and develop a relationship with these people. Make friends. And you'll be surprised how many people may have tried that photographer that's already there and they don't like his work. So they may be looking for someone else. So the idea is for you to tell as many people what it is that you do, so that if they like you better than that other person, believe me, they'll call you and not them. There's also other types of business networking events. So make sure that you Google around your area and just attend as many as you can. Most of the people in there are either there to promote their own business or to look for people that they can collaborate with or work with as well. So there's always going to be some opportunities when you're around people and you've got something that they could possibly benefit from. And when you go to any networking event, always make sure that you bring business cards with you. Some of you might think that they're a little bit old-fashioned, but they still work really, really well. And something that I've recently been testing and had some success is I put a QR code on the back of my business card that takes them to that landing page that we were talking about earlier. So anytime that you go in anywhere, or really all the time, I've got business cards with me because I find them really, really effective. So another thing that I do as part of my marketing is to try to put collaborations with other businesses. So this is not where I try to sell to those businesses. Instead, what we do is we come together. So they may have a product or a service that when you put it together with what I offer, then it becomes a much more improved or a better offer. And because we also combined our client list, it goes out to a bigger group of people as well. So that can often be very effective. And I've done this with branding specialists. So these are people that work with other individuals or businesses to improve their branding. And I've also done this with career coaches as well. So that has worked really well for me in the past, and I encourage you to try that as well. And lastly, we have cold calling or cold approaching, if you want to call it that. And that is when I turn up to a business or I get somebody on the phone and I introduce myself, I explain to them what it is that I do, and I ask if I can send them some information and maybe just keep in touch with them. Most people are very cool about this, and they'll give you an email address that you can send them some information to. And something that that I've found anyway is that about 5 to 7% of the time, they're actively looking at that point in time for a headshot photographer. So they'll book me then and there. But that's not why I'm calling them. I'm calling them so that I can send them some information and hopefully start to develop a relationship with them, a working relationship. And so that is my objective. But as a result, often they're interested in booking me then and there. Now, let me say something about this last approach. This is the one that's going to give you the biggest returns. It's also my favorite one because if you can just get over that whole thing about talking to people, you'll find that your competition most likely will not do this. So you're already competing with a much smaller group of people. The online stuff is easy. Everybody does that because you're not face to face with the person, and it's a lot easier to handle a rejection online than it is face to face. So if you can get your head around talking to people and just understanding that when they say no, it's nothing personal. It's nothing against you. It's just a business decision. If you can understand that, you're going to be light years ahead from your competition. Okay, so let me share with you some of the business types that work really well with this last approach that I just shared with you. The first one are real estate offices. So I don't know what it is about realtors, but they love having their photograph taken. So I hit all of the real estate offices once every 12 months. And pretty much every single time they engage me because they want to have a new photograph taken. So I recommend that you do the same thing for your area. The second one are marketing agencies. Now, the great thing about marketing agencies is that they're already in marketing. And so they understand the power of a good photograph. So it becomes a pretty easy sell. And there's various different sizes of marketing agencies. Sometimes you'll find a one-person business, and other times there'll be 50 people. So it depends. Just hit them up, all of them. Okay. The next one is talent agencies. Now, again, the great thing about talent agencies, so these are like actors and performers, is that as part of their CV, they need to have a photograph. So they're already looking for a photograph, and if they check out your portfolio and they like it, then there's a good chance that they're going to book you. And then the last one are professional organizations for business. So think about things like business management schools, or project management, or business analysts. Those the people that go to those organizations are typically people that take their career really, really seriously. And so they want to make sure that they also look their best online. And so they're always interested in getting a good headshot photograph. So how do you find these people and these businesses that you're going to be reaching out to? Well, this is where LinkedIn is going to become your best friend. I spend hours a week on LinkedIn. The search function inside of LinkedIn is out of this world. You can get really granular in getting it to give you lists of names of people and businesses that fit a specific criteria. So you can search for things like businesses that have more than 20 employees, that are within 5 miles of a particular point, and that are in a particular industry. So you can get really, really granular. Now, you can do a lot with a free account, but I am going to just suggest something that you might want to consider. LinkedIn do offer what they call a premium account, so LinkedIn Premium. And what that allows you to do is you can contact people that are not in your network. So if you don't know how LinkedIn works, you send out a sort of like a friend request, like what you do on Facebook, but you send out a connection request, and if someone accepts it, then they become part of your network and you can now communicate with them. But if they don't accept it, then you are not able to communicate with them. And what LinkedIn Premium does is it allows you to send messages and communicate with people that are outside of your network. It gives you a certain number of messages that you can use per month. So that's something that I would consider. You can often find these, you can find vouchers sometimes online where you can get it for 50% off. And I have used those vouchers, and but I'm happy to actually pay the full price because I think that it actually pays for itself, even by just getting one extra booking a month. That sorts out the cost for my LinkedIn Premium account. So that's something that I would definitely recommend that you at least check out. So I hope that all of this made sense. But like I said in the beginning of the video, if you do have anything that you're not clear on, or you have some questions, please make sure that you leave them in the comment section below. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. And if you enjoyed this video or you found it useful and you would like to support me, you can do that by clicking the like button. And also consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, if you want to see more content like this. Now, something that I wanted to run past you guys is that next week I was planning on doing a sales process video just to round up this whole series. So if you guys think that this is a good idea, please let me know in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get that video out to you in the next couple of weeks. Okay, that's everything that I've got for you this week. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this and you found it useful. I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.
Time to